So when you're ironing on your edge banding, that is a simple clothes iron that you're going to use for this process. If you want to grab one that you're going to be using this for, if you're only using it for this, you can get these for like $9 or $10, something like that at the hardware store. But again, set it to the hottest setting. It gets hot pretty quick. We're going to set it off to the side where it's not in the way of anything that's flammable, not going to burn ourselves, and we're not going to lean into it. The first section that I'm going to put down to this edge banding is going to be the most important area to pay attention to. This is an 8-foot strip of edge banding, and it's not really that intimidating. It's just that when you first put it down, using the hot iron on that glue and warming that glue up, it activates quickly. You want to just make sure it's straight. So I kind of start off with about 8 inches to a foot, something like that, and get that set in place. From there, you can hold off about 10 to 20 inches at a time and just kind of run your iron across it, basically keeping a finger on each side of the plywood as we move down with this edge banding. You can see it's not a very hard process. It's going to be wavy, right? It's going to be wavy up and down. I don't care about that. Side to side is what's important. And we're just activating the glue at this point. The iron is nice and hot. You can kind of feel it as you go along. That the glue stays sticky and tacky. Like I said, it's going to be wavy up and down, so we want to come back with our roller and roll it down. You can use your hand if you need to, if you want to, but it is hot, so I recommend using a roller. It makes life a little bit easier. Save your hands, especially if you're going to be doing a couple hundred linear feet of edge banding like we are today in this one. Now we come to the end here, and there's a little bit overhanging. It's kind of hard to see in the camera shot, but that's because we measured a little long, right? All you got to do is just push it down, and it'll snap right there against the edge of your piece. This glue is almost cured and dried already at this point. We want to obviously let it have as much time to fully cure. But now we're going to take our trimming tool and just trim by hand. So we're just squeezing down here. This blade is just taking all of that edge banding excess off right there. Alright, so we're just about through this second stack of shelves here, and I thought that I would slow down the time lapse to actually go through this a little bit more in detail for you guys. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, we're just putting edge banding on plywood. Now, I might make it look a little simple because I've been doing it for a long time, but I really want you to know that you really can do this. It's not that hard. I'm starting off with the iron, just like I mentioned before, right? I'm going to start off with just the first 6 or 8, 10 inches, something like that. That's ultimately the most important point, right? Because that's our starting point, and we want to get that set in place. But, as I heat and I roll, I go along, 10 or 20 inches at a time. But it's also worth noting, if you don't have a roller and you don't want to burn your hands, that you can actually just push down with the iron. You don't have to give a lot of pressure. Depending on the edge banding that you get and the vendor you use, where you get it from, all the glues are a little bit different. But for the most part, they heat up pretty quick and they set up pretty quickly as well. So I'm going to show you guys on this piece how I'm not even going to really roll it. I'm just going to go along the whole 8 feet of it. And I'm being careful with my, my right hand over here that's not holding the iron to guide the edge banding onto the plywood so that I'm kind of feeling for a little bit of overlap on each edge of this edge banding so that I have a little overhang all the way down it, right? Now I just pushed down lightly with the iron, but I could go back now really with my hands and do it. I like to use, the roller, so I'm going to finish it off with the roller. And it's another thing that's worth noting is that the roller is really going to give it a much more professional finish than just simply using your hands. So let's burn through a couple more of these. I'll show you guys the trimmer too. That's another tip that I wanted to point out is that once you get down to the end here, you cut off this little bit of excess and you're ready to use your trimmer. Again, these are all fairly the same. You can get them even at a lot of different hardware stores will carry these things, but once you've gotten your purchase point here, or once you've gotten your initial rip, so to speak, you can hear that in the microphone there, on your edge banding. You don't want to let off that squeezy grip at all. You just want to keep squeezing that grip and run it all the way down. You might run into a snag here and there, but don't let off, because then at the end of it, you're going to be able to feel that you got the whole thing in one shot. Time saver, right? Time is money. If you're planning on turning this into a business, obviously you got to pay a little bit more attention to the edge banding and making sure that everything's perfectly proper. But I will say that it's a fairly simple process, even for the DIYer, to do this, and it can save you a whole lot of money when you're building your closet systems. Let's go ahead and finish all this out. Last board, we're going to go start to finish on this one and show you guys exactly what I was telling you about, the whole process, right? The first 8-10 inches are the most important. This one's going to wiggle off. You can't get it straight. So we're just going to tap it with the iron, just like that. Then you can actually peel it up. It's wet glue. You'll see it. You'll see that glue right there. And now that's in place. That's exactly where we want it. Now we can just work ourselves all the way along it with the iron. Now again, if you don't have a roller, you can do this with just the iron itself, and maybe even come back after a full length of 8 feet, and it's not too hot to push down with your hand. I'm going to tell you guys though, the roller really makes the difference. Gives it that real professional finish, which is what you're going for, right? You're saving all the money by doing this project yourself, but you still want it to look like it was made in the factory. Alright, so we got the roller coming down, and then I'm going to show you guys the last trick to a good clean edge with our trimmer tool. Again, all the links down below for every tool used in this entire video and on this entire project. Let's get this rolled out.
I'll do the back. Okay,
and then we got Brendan down here is going to snap off the end for us. Again, if you just give that little snap at the end of that, you'll get a perfect 90-degree cut on there. Start you off. Now you got your trimmer tool. It's got arrows on it that tell you which direction to go. And we're going to go ahead and start squeezing on there. But here's the thing. You want to keep it clean. That's the secret. So if you come back and you got all of this junk, all that little shavings that's coming off in there, that's good. It means you got a good cut. But if you feel it and it's not exactly the way you want it to be, go ahead, clean that tool out, and this last run is really smooth, but you can hear it. You just get a little bit more of a skim coat on there. And it's going to give you that clean, finished edge. Now you're ready to go and put your finish on this. And